My name is Bruce Gordon. I'm the Director of Communications for the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. We have an update on the murder of Officer Decker. We're going to begin with Superintendent of the BCA, Wade Setter. You will also hear from Sheriff Sander from Stearns County Sheriff's Department. Wait. One further thing. I know that you're going to have some questions afterward. We can only take a few. These gentlemen have a couple of other obligations, and of course we have an active and ongoing investigation at this point.
Thanks, Bruce. Good afternoon. My name is Wade Setter. I'm the Superintendent of the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. Just a couple of things here before I get into our prepared remarks. This is a very important case, not only to the citizens and residents of Stearns County, Cold Spring, the state of Minnesota, but to the law enforcement community as well. And we will always honor the sacrifice of Officer Tom Decker in late November. The agents and investigators from the Stearns County Sheriff's Department, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the Cold Spring Police Department, the FBI, and other agencies that have assisted us have been working around the clock since November 29th to try and identify the person or persons responsible for the murder of Tom Decker. On Wednesday, January 2nd this week, shortly after 2 p.m., agents from the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension went out to re-interview an individual who had been brought to our attention through a tip as a result of our press conference last month when the reward was offered. We had interviewed this individual and several times. There were some inconsistencies in the information provided to us. And about 2 p.m. on Wednesday, our agents went out to re-interview this individual at his home in rural Cold Spring. When the agents approached, the individual fled on foot and ran into a metal building where he would refuse to come out. Over the course of the next 4 or 5 hours, we attempted to make contact with him, requested assistance from the Stearns County Sheriff's Office, their investigators, tried to talk him to come out. We were not there to arrest him, only to interview him. Shortly before 7 p.m., our agents and investigators from Stearns County made entry into the building and found that individual had committed suicide by hanging himself. The Ramsey County Medical Examiner has identified that man as Eric Joseph Thomas of Cold Springs. The subsequent investigation into Mr. Thomas led our investigators and our agents to locate a 20-gauge shotgun that was found in a separate property, not the one where he was at. Yesterday morning, BCA firearms laboratory experts conducted an examination of the 20-gauge shotgun and made a determination that it was the weapon used to murder Officer Decker on November 29th. One of the reasons why we're here today, in addition to announce that we have found the weapon that was involved in this particular incident, is to ask for the public's assistance for us to reconstruct the activities and conduct of Eric Thomas over the last 6 weeks. We can't stress enough the value that information may have, even though it may seem insignificant to the people in the community. We need to find out where he's been, who he's been talking to, as our ability to go through and conclude this investigation. We are a long ways from concluding it. We have many questions that remain to be answered. It's an active and ongoing investigation. But if anyone has information, we'd ask they call the Stearns County Sheriff's Office at 877-782-5683, or they may call the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension at 877-996-6222, or those tips can also be emailed to the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension at bca.tips, TIPS, at state.mn.us. While our investigators consider Mr. Thomas to be a person of interest in the shooting of Officer Decker, this is an active and ongoing investigation. As I said earlier, we have many questions remaining that we need to answer. We have many leads to follow up, and we need to take each one of those leads to its logical conclusion so we have a complete and full investigation. Our folks are working very, very hard and very diligently, as they have been for the past 6 weeks, to continue to pursue those leads, and this is just another one of those leads. But we're very happy that we're making progress. We are committed to concluding this investigation and taking those leads to their logical conclusion. So with that, I'd like to invite Sheriff Sander, and before I do that, I just want to talk a little bit about the relationships that allow investigations that are this complex, this long-term, the diligence that is committed by the organizations involved. It's because law enforcement in our communities, in our state, works very well together, and it's the long-standing relationships the expertise that we all bring to the table, our ability to collaborate, and to bring all of these investigations to a logical conclusion that allows us to work towards a successful investigation. So, Sheriff?
Thank you. What we're describing for you today is obviously a very significant development in this particular case. But as the superintendent stated repeatedly, this investigation is far from over. It's very active yet, and we are still asking for the community's help, calling in anything they know about this case or think they know about it. Let us decide if it's information that we can or cannot use. This was a real good example of how the community and law enforcement work together to get to the point that we're at today. We had a tipster call in based on the information that we were asking for. It actually couldn't have worked any better. Thank you.
With that, we'll take just a few questions.
What does Larson have to do with this? Ryan Larson, you guys went after him first, and now you have another suspect. Did you guys actually accuse an innocent man, or is he innocent, period? Or does he have any connection with this Thomas?
Well, as we said, this is a complex case. We pursued hundreds of leads. We have thousands of man hours invested in it. We have not excluded anyone as a suspect in this case. And with the developments this week, it's going to take us some time to continue to work through all those leads. And our goal here is to provide a complete and thorough investigation so we can answer that question at the appropriate time.
Superintendent Setter, Thomas has 4 DUIs of the last year. 3 of those were at the hands of Cold Spring officers, I believe one Stearns County. Do we know if Thomas Decker was an arresting officer in any of those DUIs?
Again, I don't have all that information at this particular point in time. We're really focusing on the big picture. Those are questions in terms of relationships with the community, with anybody else that's come up in the investigation that we need to answer. So I don't have that information right now.
Superintendent, would you consider Eric Thomas a presumptive suspect at this point? You said the comment was mentioned about obvious conclusion. And if he is the presumptive suspect, do you have any idea at this point what a motive would have been?
That would be premature for us to even reach a conclusion that he is the presumptive suspect. Again, we're trying to figure out what his role is, and it's, again, in the last 24 hours, there's been a number of things that have happened, and we will be able to answer that question at some point. We just are not able to make that conclusion today.
His vehicle, which was stopped for this DWI, I think in December, is that a black van? Is that Chrysler Pacifica? Is that black in color?
We have recovered a vehicle that is consistent with the description provided to us the night of the incident and the one that we discussed about 3 weeks ago. We are currently conducting an examination of that vehicle, so we don't have any conclusive outcome yet of that examination.
Now, you said there's a tip. Now, I understand that you got this, you got onto his trail because of a tip. Does that mean that somebody is going to receive the reward for this?
Well, at this point, we need to follow that up. I don't know at this point. And the Spotlight on Crime is the organization that put up the reward, that allowed us to offer the reward, and has bylaws, and we will be pursuing that at the appropriate time. But it's, again, premature for us to be making conclusions about any reward that will be offered.
Can you elaborate on the inconsistencies you mentioned that Mr. Thomas shared with you folks?
I'm not going to be able to discuss that because at this particular point in time, it's an active investigation. So those are details that we will be pursuing, and that will be part of our final report.
Was the shotgun found in the parents' home nearby?
The shotgun was found at a different property. I don't know which one it was.
At a property frequented by Eric Thomas.
It was a property that Mr. Thomas would have had access to.
Just to be clear,
One last question, please. Go ahead.
Just to be clear,
Tom.
at this point, you are not ruling in or out any other suspects or removing the possibility that Eric Thomas, if he was involved in the homicide, may have acted alone. This is still wide open.
This is wide open. Again, we have many leads that we have to pursue, and we are not in a position at this point to draw conclusions about people's involvement or lack of involvement.
Was there ever any contact between Thomas, or was there ever any talk between the investigators yesterday and Thomas when this all happened, on Wednesday?
No, there was no conversation.
Suicide note? Was there a suicide note?
I wouldn't be able to discuss that.
Because of data practices, you wouldn't be able
Because
to?
this is an active and ongoing investigation. It's part of the active investigation.
Thank you all very much.